Okay, good morning everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're located. This is the discussion group for October 7th. And today I just wanted to follow up with Ronnie about the varis 10 channels technique he brought to the table. And last week, Martin, you had asked about some more in-depth information. And so kind of looking over past discussions with other people about Curvemeister, one of the areas that most people find very confusing is pins. So I was going to talk about pins a little bit today, and then we can go into an image and probably use a pin and do some other things to an image. So is there anything else you guys want to add to this? Anything specific you want to talk about?
No, not specific.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is okay for now, I think.
Okay. Well, let's talk about varis for a minute. Ronnie, can you talk?
Yeah.
Can you talk for a few minutes about why you like Lee's technique, or what is it you find intriguing?
The specific part I liked was where he was building up contrast in the image. Where so he take the image, turn it into a black and white, and say, okay, we're gonna build the whole contrast within the image in different areas using whichever channel that is strong in that area.
Okay.
So when he did the tutorial, and he was saying, well, okay, we're gonna bring some nice shape to the building, and that detail was best in the red channel, I think it was. So he blended the red channel in it, and then he got a nice color or detail inside the house, and then he do another channel for the trees, and then he did another channel for a blending mode to bring out the foreground grass.
Okay.
So that's the part that was interesting to me. The fact that you could selectively improve an image based on strengths of each channel.
Okay. Well, and I don't want to sound too dismissive, but Lee struck me as being very much afraid of curves for some reason, which surprised me, actually, because I've read his skin book, and I was very surprised. But a lot of the things that he does, we can do in Curvemeister with a little more finesse and a little more power. He's relying on multiply. He's relying on different overlay modes. And if you add Curvemeister to his technique, you kind of put his technique on steroids. You really make it. You can really make it fly. And I tried a few things with it, and really what he's doing is kind of a combination of Dan Margulis's No Bad Originals, where he works on the contrast of the image first.
Yeah.
And have you ever read anything by Katrina Eisman?
Yes.
Katrina Eisman's Photoshop Restoration and Retouching book has a whole section on black and white. And in it she uses various masking techniques to cut out various parts of an image and build up a black and white out of it. So what I'm going to show you from the Curvemeister site, this is it. Okay, this is a thread. If you want to take a look at the thread, it's out in the challenges, got an interesting image, week 1. I should probably rename this thread, but basically what this thread is we're going to take this image and turn it into a black and white. And Martin, I think you remember this. You took a swing at it. Sorry to hold your past up in front of you here. And some other people
that's fine.
took some shots at it. And what we really did, I'll get down in here a little bit further. What we ended up doing is the Katrina Eisman technique, where you take pieces of this by duplicating the channels to separate images. So you split the channels up, okay, and you end up with 3 black and white images. So I'm going to wait here till it catches up. You guys see the black and whites on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Lee Varis is essentially doing this by applying the image instead of looking at the whole image. He is saying, well, I've looked at the channel and this is a channel I'm going to do this with, enhances that channel, and then uses, hang on, I'm going to open this PDF that's attached as well. Then he kind of uses masks, and in Katrina Eisman's workflow, she uses applying the mask. So what happens here is we can do this in Curvemeister by picking out pieces from the channel masks. Okay?
Okay.
So
yeah.
The first one I used is a skin channel. There's no such thing as a skin channel, guys. Mike has created that channel out of a calculation that takes the range of the average skin tones and creates a mask out of it. Well, it just so happened to coincide with the majority of the rocks, so I could use it in Curvemeister. I can make it a hard mask, and I can use it to come in here and apply it to a channel to give me the mask I want. Okay? Then I can go in and enhance just the sky. Okay? So since it's a very similar technique to what Lee Varis is doing, but I can see the whole thing, and I have a lot more control over what part of the contrast I'm selecting. I'm not saying that Lee is wrong. Lee's very good. He's outstanding at what he does. I just think that because these guys are using a Mac, they have to build up workarounds that we can do faster in Curvemeister. So,
yes.
So we start by, building these kinds of masks. Then I can reverse the mask and go after the rock detail that was in the blue channel. Okay? And again, I can, the whole document is out here, but you can apply this as a layer mask. As you can see, if I apply the mask, then it does the same clipping that Lee Varis is trying to accomplish with his paintbrush, but I've done it with the layer mask. Okay, so he goes in and paintbrushes all this stuff out. I want to enhance this rock. He paints it out. I'm going to do it by applying the mask that I created. Okay? And it's essentially the same difference. You should go out and read this whole thread because it is essentially Lee's workflow with Curvemeister added. And when you're done, if you apply that black and white as a luminosity layer, you would essentially get the same thing Lee Varis was trying to do in that church video.
Yeah.
Is that making sense, Lonnie?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with what Lee is doing, but I have, let me open a, here. I'm just going to open a frame. I don't, whoever's image this is, thank you for allowing me to use it. In Curvemeister, with the masked palette, I've got 10 channels. And I don't have the CMYK channels because all the cyan channel is an inverted R channel. All the green channel is an inverted magenta channel. All the blue channel is an inverted Y channel. So I actually have 10, 11, 12, 13 channels to pick and choose from. Okay?
Oh, okay, yeah.
You sound a little lost on that one.
Oh, so those are, you get previews of everything there.
Yep. So if I select the B channel, it creates a new channel in Curvemeister here called the B mask, and then I can curve this channel, and that's the mask I'm going to send out to Photoshop. So I would copy that channel and get out of Curvemeister, and I can create a new layer and paste that channel mask in. I can then set it to luminosity, and I've just done what varis does. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know if I've lost you or not, Lonnie.
No, I understand, yeah. I understand.
Okay. Because what I really want to point out to everybody who may watch this later is that, with the mask palette, you can see very quickly what's in the channels. If I click on the L channel, that's the L channel as a mask copy. And I can even apply it inside of Curvemeister. Okay? So I'm going to adjust this mask. And I just want to take a quick look and make sure that I'm doing some things I want to do. I'm just playing with it really quick. But if I take it over to RGB and look at all channels, the mask is going to have an effect on whatever changes I make. So if I make this adjustment, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to throw it way out of whack to try and give you something to see. It's hard because the mask limits this so much. Can you see any changes there? Here's the compare. There's the original, and there's the compare. So I can do the masking while I'm in Curvemeister if I want to.
So you could use the mask to build up like a black and white.
Sure. I can use what
you could apply another channel on top of the mask.
Well, at this point, I can copy the mask out. This is what the mask is looking like, so it's not doing a lot of good for right now. Okay, but let's try that. That's using that mask inside of Curvemeister. Okay, it's a nonsense mask, but what I'm trying to illustrate is that using a layer mask inside of Curvemeister allows you to make some of those changes on the fly without having to build up so many layers in your image. And you get the visual feedback of what your mask is. Make sense? I'm changing the view up here from all channels. Here's the red, here's the blue, or green, blue, and there's the mask. Now, the mask is really kind of nonsensical for this image right now, but I'm going to reset, and I want to get rid of this blue cast on the floor. Okay? That would be a goal for this image. So I'm going to go into the mask, and I'm going to look for a place where that blue is really pronounced. And the best place to find it is actually maybe in the B channel. So I'm going to select the B channel, and I'm going to reset that grid. Okay? My goal is to produce a mask like that. Okay?
Yeah.
So now when I go back to all channels and I work only in the blue, if I grab that section I'm going to make it some really weird color there. I'm going to leave it there. that is what the mask is allowing me to adjust. Okay?
Okay.
So I can kill the blue in the floor. Here's the original channel. If I just move it like that, I have fixed the floor. And I'm just using the arrow key to move these linked pins. Okay? Because I want to move that whole area. When I hover the mouse in here, you see where the color worm is inside the box. I want to try and keep that in there so that the area I'm working on matches up to where I'm at in the floor. It's almost starting to turn too red now. So I'm just using the arrow keys to push it back and forth. I could even set a neutral here, and then it would make the floor neutral, irregardless of what the rest of the image is doing. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of taking Lee Varis's 10-channel technique, blending it a little bit with Curvemeister, and, you know, it gets much more powerful very quickly when you do that. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing is you cannot paint over your mask inside of Curvemeister. For instance, if there's other areas in your image which was also a little bit of blue, can you paint black over that so that only the area that you want to use is open?
Not in Curvemeister 3. There's been some discussion about finding a way to enable painting on the mask in Curvemeister 4, but Mike is reluctant to write his own photo editing program, basically. I wouldn't say reluctant. It introduces a lot of challenges. He may find a better solution, but we've certainly heard a lot of people about this painting on the mask thing. And it's not a thing. It's real. I could use it many times myself. The solution currently is to take that mask back out of Curvemeister into Photoshop and paint on it. So if I wanted to do that here, I would take that B channel mask, create it the way I want it, okay, and then copy it using the copy icon. So I'd copy the channel, cancel, and then use Alt-click and paste that channel in there. Now I can take a paintbrush and I can paint on that mask. Oops, come here. Alt, there we go. And I was doing some retouching, so my opacity was set low. So I can paint these areas out on the mask. Okay? So when it's done here,
yeah, that was exactly what I was referring to.
yep, I can't do that currently inside of Curvemeister. But I can make a copy of the image, put this mask over it, and take it back into Curvemeister. Okay? And I'm going to do this in Lab because it's faster. And I can do that. Curvemeister respects the mask that's applied to the layer. Okay?
Yes.
So that's the workaround. Or I could totally desaturate it, and it certainly looks much more neutral. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's,
Could you apply another channel on top of mask?
on top of this, so could I add another channel on the outside? I could put another layer mask here, or up above. I can create another layer and make that a clip mask, and then I could go back into Curvemeister, and I could say, oops, sorry guys. And I could come back in here and I could say, give me the red channel. I'll curve it a little bit. Copy that.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
Okay.
Somebody came to the door. Okay.
So I can do that, Martin, and that allows me to apply this as a color dodge, or what did Lee Varis use? He used a color burn, I think. So I can make it as complex as I want out here. I can still use Curvemeister to help me create those masks, and I can still apply them using standard Photoshop techniques. So is any other questions there? Okay, well, I'm not going to save anything. The next thing we're going to talk about briefly is I want to talk about color pins. Now, in Curvemeister, as you can see, I have multiple different sets of pins here. You can create your own tab full of pins simply by right-clicking on the gallery here and saying Pin File, New Pin File. It's going to go out to where the pin files are located, and it's going to create a new tab. I then can say, give me a new pin, and I can, let's create a pin here first. So if I quick pin to the current, come on. I got to create a mark first. I got to mark it. So that mark has to exist. Then I can say save that sample as a pin, test 1, and say OK. So inside of the test file, I now have that pin created. Okay? So where do I use it? Well, you don't need to create a white pin. You don't need to create a black pin. And you don't need to create a neutral pin because Curvemeister already has those built in. They're available to you anytime you right-click on the screen and set a highlight, shadow, or neutral. Those are specialized pins. Okay? So I don't need to create a black pin. I did in the zone system pin set because there were people who wanted to try and work completely within the zone system. The idea was that you wanted to manage a single channel using zone system pins. And what we're finding is that a shadow, highlight, and neutral pin in the zone system is not as effective as a mid-tone pin. And we're still working on it because it does sometimes produce some weird results, and we don't want to mislead you by telling you this works every time. It's great. It is something you just have to play around with. So we've created this pin, and I want to open this. It wants to edit it with something else, so I'm going to open it with Notepad. There are no pins here yet. That's a slight bug in the system. We're going to open the zone system file so we have something to work with. This is what a pin file definitions look like. Okay? It's got the name of the pin, the color space it's pinned in. You'll notice in lab they're all zeros because it's luminance, A and B. So we always want to make them a neutral pin for the zone system, and then we've typed in the value, the brightness values. We've set it as a brightness pin only, and then this is just a comment when it was created. You can come in here and you can add a new pin. And I'm just typing in the values. 95, comma, 0, comma, 0. And all I have to do is save it.
All right, I came back.
Okay. Hey, Lonnie. We're just talking a little bit about pins and how we create them in Curvemeister and what they can do. And I close this.
Yeah.
And if I refresh all the pins, that one disappeared because it's kind of a bug. But I added a test pin to this file. I thought I said 95. Well, I'll be darned. Mike, we're going to have to visit this. Basically, it's not reading this pin file correctly. I might have to let me exit Curvemeister and come back in and see if it picks it up correctly. Nope. Okay, Mike, there's a new bug for you. It's going to make this discussion interesting.
Sorry, isn't it because the comma behind the 95, there's a space between it?
Did I miss it? Let me check.
It's 95 with a space and then a comma. Perhaps that could be the reason.
That's it. It's looking for... No, there's no spaces.
Okay, sorry.
Huh. Michael. Well, I get to talk to Mike a little later this morning, so I'll report that one back to him for expediting a fix. At any rate, one of the problems a lot of people have with pins is they go, okay, I've got this skin tone pin. I'm going to drop it in here, and that should fix my picture. Right? No. Skin tone pins and pins in general are a tweak. They're an enhancement. You still need to do a real solid color correction first. So what I generally do when I'm going to use a skin tone pin is I try and find a highlight, a neutral, and a shadow. So I'm going to add a by the numbers type correction here. There we go. And I'm going to try to see if we can get closer. Now, since I don't have a true gray that I know of, because the color is so far off, I don't know what is gray or not. I'm going to start by just trying to get rid of the color cast in the highlights and in the shadows. So we're just going to do what we did last week briefly. I'm going to try and speed it up a little here.
Okay.
Okay, and this shadow could be brown, so I'm going to have a better place to find a black. Maybe that shadow point right there. So I'm going to drag this down a little bit, and I'm going to set it right in here. So I'm going to take these and try and bring them down to neutral, and let's see what happens. There's a little bit of guessing going on here. Okay. So we started out here. Come on. There's the original. And we've done a real rough recorrection. I'm going to fix the highlight of the red for a second here. Trying to split the difference on me. Can't get a 234 out of it. So maybe I'll take the blue down a notch. There. Okay, still the color's not quite right, is it? This is where we can start talking about adding a color pin. So I'm going to use a medium tone tanned Caucasian, and I'm going to find a medium tone and drop it in there. Now I'm shopping it around a little bit because on my screen it turns the background a little blue, but as you can see, the sample, I'm going to make it a little bigger in hopes of finding an area that's kind of like the sweet spot. There we go. So right now the luminosity is kind of messed up, and we can play around with that a little bit on the master channel. That's looking a little better. I'm going to go back here and move this pin again. What I'm looking for is some way to have this picture work better using that pin. I'm worried about the nose, which is currently too red. So I'm going to go shopping around a little bit until I find something more to my liking. And again, it's a little color tweak. See, it still shows the red channel as low. All I'm trying to do here is use this pin to make the skin tones look better. Okay?
Alright.
That's where a lot of people have trouble with pins. They try to do too much with them. So this is where we started. We've brought it up to here, and we can go further. At this point, I would apply this, and I'm just going to work, because I'm not going to save here. I'm going to go back into Curvemeister. And this time I'm going to tackle a little bit of stuff in lab. This is an old, as you can see now, you can start seeing the moire come out. This is an old school photo, and the surface of the paper is showing a little moire pattern. I'm not going to tackle that for this. I'm just kind of showing you why some of the color and stuff doesn't look quite right. We can ramp up some saturation, but now she starts to look orange. So we can also, again, still come in here and tweak it a little, but it's going to mess up all of your colors because the pin is resetting the whole color balance. So you want to be fairly close before you apply it, because then you start getting changes like that. You started out in a much better place skin tone wise, so you have to kind of just play around with these. Again, don't try to do too much, okay? I don't know if there's been any revelation there or not. It's more about getting the image close before you go in and apply pins.
Okay, no, that is a revelation for me.
Okay. Well, this image is the image I was going to have you guys tell me what you want me to do to it. So,
okay.
What do we want to do?
When you say in what respect for?
Well, okay, we're going to make this
enhance it.
We're going to
enhance the color.
Yeah, we're going to enhance the color, improve the contrast a little bit, and make it look natural. This is a portrait of my son, and he loves his saxophone. So one of the things we want to do is make the saxophone look really good without over-enhancing him. Okay?
sharpening as well too?
We certainly can sharpen it. I'm going to reset some of these back to where they belong. I usually don't leave it in this condition. Some of these are set for my workflow. So this is mostly what came out of the camera.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's how I do it as well.
Okay. I don't like to do a lot in camera raw. That's something I've been revisiting, especially in light of Lonnie's questions about it. One thing that I would say I can do is I certainly would want to do some noise and sharpening.
Right, yeah.
So I'm going to do some sharpening here. But I don't know that I want to do too much. I want to zero these out again. Yeah. It does pick up a little bit of noise when you start to play around with these a little bit. All right. And I think I'm going to make sure that we have, see, we don't have a lot of room here, so let's push this around a little bit. A la varis. And he says he doesn't like to use both fill and recovery, but I'm going to use a little bit because I want to get some headroom here. I don't need a lot of room, but I want some. Okay, so I'm going to open the image here.
Do you do two raw cut versions and blended?
Not usually.
Okay.
If I have a specific problem I'm trying to fix, I might. But right now, this image isn't in too bad a shape to begin with, so I'm not too worried about it. I could go from here right into curves, and I might be satisfied. As you can see, I've got some. The highlights aren't too bad. I would probably leave them alone. I've got some shadow room.
Okay, so like I would be interested in like isolating which channel the saxophone would be on. That would be the blue yellow, right?
Yeah, most likely. Let's go look at channels and see. If I look at the...
You could increase the contrast in there.
Correct. That's where I was headed. I want to... I don't want to go here first. I can do a very quick and dirty correction here. Let's work this up a little bit. Okay? And for portraiture, I limit my saturation to about there.
Okay.
All right, that's already an improvement from there to there. That's very quick, very easy. But we can take it further, and we're going to, so we're going to get out of here without applying that. Instead, I'm going to come into the channels, and I'm going to look at each individual channel. Okay? And I want to zoom in here and take a look at what's going on in each one. Here's the red channel. Certainly carries the highlights. Makes the saxophone stand out. The green channel has the great skin tones we would expect. The saxophone looks a little flat. And the wall starts to pick up detail. And the blue channel. It certainly has the shadow detail in it, which is what we would expect. The saxophone certainly has more shape, I think, than the green channel. If you look just at this area of the saxophone here, you certainly pick up more shape, but you do lose this to noise. It's certainly a lot noisier channel.
All right, yes.
So overall, I think I want to lose the blue channel. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by enhancing the black channel contrast. The red channel, pardon me. bad Curvemeister. I'm going to bring the contrast of the channel in, and I'm going to go looking for some more help in the skin tones. So I'm going to use a contrast pin on that area of the channel to bring some more contrast into his face. But I'm going to push the bottom. You see how that curve buckled right there? If you look at from here to here, the curve has buckled. So I'm going to add a control point just below the area I was working on and push that curve back in line. That way the shadow end down here is not going to be affected by the contrast enhancement I added up here. And I can do the same for the highlights if I wish. So I just kind of created a little speed bump in the red channel to make some of the shape in his face a little better.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there to there. I'll do it again. There's the original, and there's the little speed bump. Just in the shape of his cheeks, his dimples here will have a little more definition, and I think his lips look a little better too. Yeah, there's more shape in this area of his lip. Okay? So we'll apply that. So if I go look at the RGB, there's not much change. It's a little redder. Now I'm going to go do the same thing to the green channel. And this is where Lee Varis would be doing an apply image first and then adjusting the luminosity. Yeah. So I'm doing a very similar thing, only I'm watching it happen on the screen a little bit more. And again, up in his face here, I don't want to go too far, but I do want to add, I'm going to create that contrast pin manually, and I do want to add some more contrast to his face, but keep it out of his shirt. And hold the highlights back. So, we'll go up here and look at his lips. That's where we started. And that's where we ended up. Okay?
Okay.
It's kind of a noisy channel, but because it carries most of the skin tones, I'm going to keep it. And I apply that image. So again, the image is looking better, but I'm going to get rid of this blue channel, and I'm going to apply the green channel to it. So if I highlight blue, image, apply image, green from the background, copy, and make sure it's in normal mode, and say OK. Now this is where the luminosity shows up. Because I'm viewing this in full color, I start to see where my changes are. Everything that's red or green, I've adjusted the luminosity of. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's also another visual reinforcement or input of what we've done to the luminosity of the image. I'm going to go back in and set that layer to luminosity. Okay? So there's where we started. There's enhancing the contrast using the red and green channel. Okay?
Yep.
How are we doing, Lonnie? Are we making your goals happen?
You was lagging a little bit.
What's that?
Okay, okay. It now caught up. Yeah, you was lagging a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Is there anything else I should push around here, Martin, before we leave luminosity?
No, I think that's okay.
All right. I'm going to flatten this because I want it to apply that calculation. Because now I'm going to take this whole image, not just the layer, and I'm going to go back into Curvemeister. Because we're going to go after color. And we're going to do that in lab. Okay? So I want to enhance the difference between some of these bricks a little bit more and give the wall some shape. And I'm hoping that that will also help out in the saxophone because it's a very similar color. I want to just check this briefly. I'm a little bit hard up on the highlights, especially these areas, but I'm not going to mess with that too much, and I've got all of my shadow detail. So I'm in a pretty good place luminosity-wise. So I'm going to try and find a spot where I'm going to set my pixels to 11 for the sample. And the reason is I want bigger differences when I go to try to find the color worm here.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see where it is here.
Yeah.
I want to have some difference here between this point and this point. If the sample is real small, it's too sensitive and I can't find a place. So I'm going to just set a point here holding down the control key and clicking. And then I'm going to try and find another place. So I have the 2 points. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. So I have these 2 points on the curve. I'm going to click on the first one and then control click on the second one. That creates a contrast pin in the yellow the B channel, which is yellow-blue in lab. I'm going to set my anchor here so that I know how to get back to that tonality, because I'm going to make this a mess here very quickly. Okay?
Saxophone looking good.
Yep. Now what's going on with his skin tones though? Ew, that's pretty yellow.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to figure out a way to protect him from that adjustment. Well, luckily, we have a skin tone mask. And I can protect his skin
Yeah, that's looking good, man.
So now let's see what it looks like. The skin's in a little better place. As we move the sample around, hopefully you'll be able to see the changes. His skin tone's in a much nicer place. He's still picking up a little yellow from the wall, and I might tackle that separately. But right now, we kind of have our cake and eat it too. His shirt is bright blue. The panel behind us stayed the same color. We certainly have a lot more differentiation in the bricks behind him. I'm going to hit the compare button. There's the original. There's the saturation boost, and we've protected his skin. Is there anything else? Do we need to go find any greens in there? I don't think so. There's not any green in the picture, really. We could try. Let's see what happens. I'm going to reset this curve. The only thing I would be able to pick up is the reds in his skin tones.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would even do anything at that point. There's really no reason to to go after that. But look at the difference here in the contrast between his shirt and the strap he's wearing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to apply that. Okay? Now, let's take the saxophone over the top. I've flattened the image. I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to create a black mask over the image. Okay? Again, a la varis. But I'm going to take it back into Curvemeister. And this time, I'm just going to crank up the saturation. You're not going to see anything because Curvemeister is reflecting the mask. Okay? But that sure is Man from Mars there, isn't it? Okay? That's actually too far. But we're gonna work on this a little bit. So I'm gonna take a gray brush and I'm gonna paint just on the saxophone a little bit. And it's too much, without a doubt. Oops. But I can use gray to help balance off some of the harshness. And the other thing I can do is I can, let me black again. I see a big glaring mistake right in here. Okay, so I've got the outline of the saxophone. I can reduce the opacity here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes the saxophone pop out a little bit more. It's a little too red for me, but that's how I can draw on this a little bit more to make that color come out. Helpful? Ridiculous? Anything else? Any other questions or suggestions?
So, your voice is up in 10 seconds ahead of the picture, so I'm trying to keep up with it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So you can see it before and after.
So this is where we came out of the lab color enhancement, and this is where we went after just color in the saxophone.
No, I mean where it started.
Oh, all the way back to the original. Okay. I got to bring it back in because I don't have it.
No, I mean just in history.
So this is where we started. This is where we took it.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like you guys to think about topics for next week and post them out to the forum. Or send me an email directly at greg@curvemeister.com. And now he wants to be in it. Steve has just popped in saying, I'd like to be a part of the call. Martin, if you have something, another aspect of Curvemeister you'd like me to talk about. I know we ran into some trouble with pins earlier in this session because of the bugs that appear to be in the pin file with Windows 7. So I'll talk to Mike about that offline. Martin, do you have anything specific you want to talk about?
Yeah, one thing I just want to mention, last week I saw you actually started with a luminosity where, in comparison where Dan Margulis first to do a color correction, but what I just thought is many of the images that he got is really bad. I mean, there's huge color casting in it, while I think the images we take with our cameras are not, in general, not that bad.
I would agree with you in Dan takes on those images to show you how bad it can get.
Yeah.
In reality, I don't shoot those kinds of images myself. I'll occasionally do that, so I have something to post out to the Curvemeister forum and say, here you go, guys, fix this one. Chris and I have joked offline with each other a number of times about needing to get me some photography lessons, because I always seem to be able to come up with these brilliant problems, and it's intentional. I'll go out and shoot images. For instance, when I took this image, I knew this was one I wanted to bring back into this call to talk about skin tones, pins, enhancing part of the image, all of the things we did to it. I think Dan's images, people want me to correct Dan's images, and it's surprising. Like you, Martin, I don't see those kinds of images. I can handle them. I know what to do with them. But the reality is I don't always have to go that extreme. And
perhaps where one might get it is when you scan old family photos or whatever, in where there's color changes in the photos.
Okay, let me show you one, because I've been working on something here. Again, this is not perfected. Okay? But, where's my folder? Okay, somewhere in here, like one of these, right?
It's not on yet.
Okay, hold on. Like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plenty ugly?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what I've been trying to work on, because I find these really annoying as well. One of the features...
Now I see.
What's that?
Now I see it. It's now coming on my screen.
Okay. One of the features of Curvemeister is this load button. Load allows me to go get what's called an ACV file. It's the curve file. So this is one I've been working on and trying to find more sample images of that is a red burn like this, where the whole image has a red or magenta burn. Wow, that's way too far. Let me switch this to RGB and load.
Okay, yeah, I can see. So if you have 6 or 8 of them, you can do a quick run and get them closer to where you want them to.
Right. I'm going to try and load this again here. That's just not working very well. But we can. I can say that we can start out by setting a neutral. See, my burn curve file isn't working quite right. I could leave this here, say apply. All right, I'm going to close this and not save it. And I'm going to go back in here. This is kind of confusing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not. I'm going to bring this image back up. Because I applied my changes in Curvemeister, I can go back in and I can say, give me oops. Got to find it again. Sorry. Curvemeister, where are you?
While you're looking there, I thank you for the pins to tonight. That was one battle I had with trying to rectify skin. It just gets from bad to worse if you try to rectify it with those skin pins.
Yeah, you know, the pins, I'm going to try and sneak my way in here this way. Pin file. There we go. Let's see where we're at here. Program data, that's why I didn't find it. Okay, let me go back in and load this. So I can go load computer, program data, curvemeister.com, 64-bit. See this folder history? Every pin or every curve you've applied, this is the pin, this is the previous curve we just created. Date and time stamp. I can apply that same curve back to this image. Okay?
Okay.
Right.
The other thing I can do, guys, is Curvemeister stays resident as the last filter. I can hit filter, Control F in Photoshop, and it'll reapply that last filter. So I'm going to Control Z my way out of it. Okay, there's the original. Control F as a keystroke applies the last filter and the settings. So here on Curvemeister on the filter list, Curvemeister's at the top. So if I had 5 images like that, Martin, I could do them very quickly. And in fact, I use this a lot when I do portraiture because I'll color correct the first portrait and then I'll just reapply. I might go back and tweak them afterwards, but I've gotten them very close very quickly. For proofing, for web, you know, it's a very fast way to go through a lot of images in a hurry. If they're shot under the same lighting, in the same area, you can apply that as fast as you can open and close an image.
Okay, thanks for that.
All right, guys, that's about an hour, and I think that'll be enough for an upload this week. So I'm going to stop our recording.